Yes, have you any question?
इसका एक सवाल है।
Yes.
Then what is the difference between passive and active connection?
So here we say that passive connection is whenever any request is sent it by the sender, which is a client here, for example, and which is sent it to the server, for example, which is a server here, for example. So uh, they send it request to particular ports, for example, or particular processes, for example. So if the receiver which receives that particular request, and if that connection is open, for example, so then it is called as an active connection. So if that connection is or the port number is closed, for example, then it is called as a passive connection. So mostly they are the active type of connections where they are the ports are open, for example, where the client sends a particular request to the server, and then the server acknowledges that particular request on that particular process or particular port. Okay.
सर व्हाट आर सेगमेंट्स? और सर सेगमेंट्स और पैकेट एक ही चीज़ें, अलग अलग चीज़ें सर, पैकेट और सेगमेंट्स?
Uh, Actually, we have the data that is having different we can say portions, for example, and these different portions are called as segments. So when we define any data, we divide the data into different segments. And when, for example, when we send that data to other system, so then we make the packets of the data. And when we make the packets of the data, it has a particular format for the data. For example, as we have discussed that it is a source, it is destination, it is source port number, destination port number, and different other fields and the data. So when we send the data to other system, so we make the packets of that. And when we have the data in the system, and that divided into different segments or different portions, for example. So that is actually the data which is send it to other system, that then we make the packets, and the data which is available in the system, that could be in the form of the different segments. Okay.
ओके सर, यस।
Is there any question?
सर ये साइन फिन बिहेवियर को थोड़ा एक्सप्लेन कीजिएगा। साइन फिन सर, इनकी फुल फॉर्म क्या है? साइन और फिन की?
It's a synchronization request which is sent by the sender and the receiver. We say that it's a send request or sign request, and there's a after making a connection between the sender and the receiver, so there's a connection is closed, for example, that is called a fin request or finish request, we could say. So the acknowledgement is for acknowledgement. It sends a synchronization request, and for after the acknowledgement, it sends a fin request. So in this way, we have different types of requests which are sent by the sender and the receiver.
ओके, यस सर।
What is the source address validate, sir?
It's actually when any request is sent it by the receiver, so it verifies that request that it contains a particular address which is a valid address which is given permission by the user to access that particular service or not. So that's why we say that it is the address which is valid address or which is validated or verified address by the receiver.
Okay, sir. So how we find the denial of attack in the system, sir?
So for that we need different intrusion detection systems. So as we discussed that these different intrusion detection systems they launch such type of attacks. They detect such type of attack on the basis of different functions. For example, as we discussed that they can detect particular attack on the basis of the signature or on the basis of the pattern, for example, or it can detect particular attack on the basis of the behavior. So these different attacks are detected on the basis of the pattern or on the basis of the behavior. So they use different intrusion detection systems which are which are in the system or installed into the system to detect particular services by the intruder or by the security expert.
Sir, how we protect, how we prevention dogs attacking the system, sir?
So it's actually we can different logs are generated when different we have the different processes when we are running in the system, and these different processes consist of different logs which are generated into the system, and these different logs, for example, which are generated, either uh, we can block that particular piece of data, or for example we can remove that, or for example we can prevent we can define different rules for that. For example, if any data is coming from that particular system or particular a user that should not be given access to the system, or we define particular limitations for that. That, for example, if any data is coming from that particular service or particular system, so that should be given uh, only these services. So in this way, we can maintain different logs which are generated in the system. Either we can limit the permission of that particular system, or we can, if it is detected that it is an intruder, or if we either we can give the permissions to that system which can only be which cannot harm to the system, or we can block that particular service or particular user. So in this way we can have different services or different permissions can be given to that particular system in order to manage or to maintain different attacks which are launched by an attacker.
Sir, can we deploy antivirus program and the firewall into our into our network, sir, as a prevention of dogs?
Actually, that depends on the if we have the antivirus. Uh, so that depends on the functionality of that particular antivirus. So most of the antivirus uh, they detect for example viruses, and then they deal with the virus. They depends on the pattern of that virus. For example, that ba- based on the signature of a particular virus. If a particular virus that is detected by the system that has particular pattern, so then it is detected to be a virus, for example. and most of the and some other viruses are also detecting the behavior of the we can say particular service or particular data which is accessed into the system. So we have particular antiviruses or intrusion detection systems which are based either on the signature or on the anomaly. So if it is anomaly based, so it also checks the behavior of that particular data, or it also checks the behavior of particular user. So it can also use both behavior as well as signature. So the antiviruses depends that if it is giving both the functions, it is detecting intrusions with the help of both functions like signature based as well as anomaly based, then it is actually said that after detecting that, then it can also prevent that particular service, or it can also limit that particular service. So in this way, it could be either our intrusion detection system, or just detect the particular service, and after detecting that particular service, it can also prevent some the intrusions. Means it can, in the prevention, we say that it can limit the services, or it can block the services, or it can, for example, delete some intruder which are taking the system. So these are the different functions which are used by the intrusion detection system to detect the particular services.
Then attack rate dynamic. What's the difference between constant rate, variable rate, and functionality rate, sir?
So the attack which is launched, for example, it has uh, it has different strength. For example, either it attacks uh, that could be means that is damaging more to the system, or the attack that is damaging less to the system. So the attacker can launch different variations in the attack. Sometimes he can damage more to the system. Sometimes he can damage less to the system. So in this way, he can have such type of attacks in different ways. So that's why we said it's a variable type of attack. So if it is, for example, if it is a uh, same rate, for example, if it is damaging more than if it is damaging continuously at that rate, so then it is called as a constant rate. Or if it is damaging less, for example, and it is continuing with that rate, so it is called as a constant rate. So in this way, we say that they are the variable type of attacks and they are the constant type of attacks.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so it's all up about today. So we further discuss about intrusion detection technologies and tools which are used to detect particular intrusion in the next lecture. Okay, so
Okay, sir. Yes, okay. Yes.